Messaging and funnel specialist Breanna Gunn has a word for you. Your funnel isn't broken, your relationship is. That one can hurt. But Breanna works with business owners and entrepreneurs to create messaging and processes that inspire loyalty, momentum, and action that leverages trust, authenticity, and profitability. Bree, could you help me with my relationships?
Absolutely.
Yay. Tell me a little bit about you, about how you got into your business. Where did you start? Is the business you're in right now the business you started with?
I got started in business kind of accidentally, actually. I was I have a pre-law degree. I was working at a law firm. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I got pregnant. And I wanted to be a mom, and I didn't want the stress of the family law environment. And I had no clue what to do. This was 11 years ago, before it was common for people to go, oh, I could just be an entrepreneur and be online. Like, entrepreneurs had to have a storefront and you had to have all these extra things. And I didn't know how to do that. So I was talking about this to my mom, and she goes, I saw an article in the magazine about this website called Hire My Mom. You should go look it up. And I was like, that's totally a scam. But I looked it up, and it was a real thing. And in fact, it found me my first 5 gigs. And I literally took any gig I was qualified for: checking email, loading landing pages, writing copy, didn't matter. I wrote 90% of the copy on StubHub, just took whatever gig I could find. And I very quickly figured out what I liked to do and what I didn't like to do. And I stopped saying yes to everything and started only saying yes to the things that I really enjoyed. And I started to build an actual business instead of just being a gig worker. I started to be more strategic in how I went after clients, and I started to get referrals, and it just kind of went from there.
That is amazing. I love that you're just like, let me just go out there. I kind of think it's funny that you're like, that's a scam.
I was like, you have to be joking me. And it's so funny because I actually just did an interview with the founder, Leslie, and I was telling her that story, and she was like, nope, we're a real thing. I was like, I know. And I still, to this day, I still use Hire My Mom to find clients.
Oh, that's so cool. That's cool. So I love that journey. So how have you established yourself now? And do you use some of that training that you had from your previous job and what you
use a lot of the writing training that I had, and a lot of the office admin training, because I do have a minor in abnormal psychology and a minor in business administration. So I do use some of the skills that I learned and gained from that time in my life. But more so than that, it was really the jobs I had before that I lean on more. I was in sales before that, and I write sales copy.
Yeah.
And so I have learned, for better or worse, sales is what I'm really, really good at. And so that's what I do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So in this show, we're focusing on multiple streams of income. And so I want to get right to the point here and find out, what does that look like in your life? What all have you done? What have you strategically put in place within your business, or accidentally put in place in your business, or in your life? Because it can be totally separate things that's not business related that help contribute to the income that creates the life that you love.
So I have 2 facets of my business. I have the copywriting facet, and I have the marketing strategy facet. The marketing strategy is consulting primarily, and the copywriting is, well, it's copywriting. And so the copywriting takes more time and effort, obviously, but I've built a small team. So I have 2 junior copywriters. I have a graphic designer. I have an OBM who help to manage the workload so that I'm only working around 20 hours a week. And then the marketing strategy is the other half. It's more of a consulting situation. So people come to me looking for launch strategy, growth strategy, content marketing strategy, those types of things. And so those are the 2 facets. I also have courses that I've leveraged to help with the income stability and everything else. And for those people, you can't help everyone all the time. And
Right.
sometimes people just can't afford your one-on-one services or your group programs. And so it's important that you have other pieces in the puzzle so that they can get started at where they are and not have to feel like, well, this person can't help me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do you have anything in your portfolio that isn't specifically business related? Do you have investments, rental
I do have some
properties,
investments.
like that? Mm-hmm.
Right now we're not pulling on those investments. They're literally just growing equity because it's my
Yeah.
retirement fund. As an entrepreneur, like, we don't think about retirement, and my husband and I were talking, and we want to be able to retire together. And he has a traditional job, so that helps too. I'm not a single income household, but I do make more than my husband, which is, not inconvenient.
Right.
And, my investments definitely help with security, because if I do need to draw on them, I could, but we haven't had to yet.
Yeah, that was one of the things that helped me in starting my business, was that we had money that was put away in investments. And so in those early stages of my business, I actually had a draw. So I kind of created a salary for myself out of the investments monthly, and that helped me get started.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when did you decide to expand? So you obviously started with the freelance copywriting, things like that. When did you decide to expand to that second thing of the strategy, and or did it kind of happen organically?
It kind of happened organically. I want to say, I'm trying to think. There was a catalyst where I was writing the copy and they started asking me, when should I send this out? When should I do this? Where on the page should this go? What should this look like? And I just started giving answers. And then I realized that I could actually get paid for those answers, because I was getting paid for the copy. And so
Right.
I increased my rates to include the strategy piece. And at first it was like just a single strategy call. And then it was multiple strategy calls. And then it was, just I literally just got off the phone with a client to give her a holistic strategy. And, yeah, so the strategy has been a really big component. I charge more for the copywriting, because it's more time and labor intensive, but the strategy is still a large piece because people are getting more and more in tune with the fact that, the words, it's not just the words that build the relationship, it's also the strategy behind the words.
Right. So what does a typical week look like for you to balance those two pieces and family?
So today is my long day. I actually will be working until around 8:00 tonight. And I started at 8:00 this morning, but I only do one long day a week, and it's not usually that late. It would just so happen that it worked out that way. But most days I'm done at 4:00 when my kids are home from school, and then I can make dinner for my family and we can have family time. And one of the biggest things, guys, if you're watching this and you have apps on your phone that are work related, take them off, please, because it's a distraction, and then you're never really away from work. So I work Monday through Thursday. Friday is my day my day to get my hair done while my kids are at school, or catch up on work if I really need to, or relax or rest. I do try to book a 4-day weekend at least once a month, where I'm taking like a Friday through a Monday or a Thursday through a Sunday. So my weeks vary, but typically I'm working around 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And in that time, I schedule client calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I have Mondays and Wednesdays to manage the copywriting side, and then the strategy side, where I'm actually face-to-face with clients, is kind of compartmentalized into 2 days versus it being overwhelming.
Right. So it sounds like you've set some pretty clear boundaries in your life.
I had to, because I was the girl that was working all the time. I started my business before I had my child. So when my kids have never known me not working, and I used to work on their, just when they were napping. And then as my client load increased, it was while they were awake. So, the TV is a great babysitter sometimes. And, I'd sit them in front of the TV, and I'd sit on the couch on my laptop and work. And I just upgraded to a desktop, so I can't take work with me around the house, which has forced me to actively sit and be present and get work done while I'm at work in my office.
Yeah.
Because this is not a bedroom. This is not somebody else's space. This is my office. That was a really big need when we bought a house, was I needed a space that I could shut the door.
Right.
And those boundaries are really important. And if, whether you have kids or not, your mental health is really, really imperative. And so if you are working all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's a time and a place for that, but it's a very short window of time. Yeah. And the longer it goes, the more expectations people put on you that that's the normal. So if you can put that to bed very, very early, you'll be a much happier entrepreneur, I promise.
Oh yeah. I remember when the first time I worked from home, I had moved from Memphis to Little Rock, and I worked for a bank at the time, and I was one of our first remote workers.
Wow.
And you know, when I had been negotiating with another company here in Little Rock and was talking about moving and going to work for them, and my boss came to me and she's like, "What would it take to keep you? We'll send all the equipment with you."
Oh, like, how sweet.
Oh, well, let me see. but that was one of the things that I had to learn. And it took me, I'll be honest, it took me probably 2 years to learn it, to actually turn off work. And even though that wasn't an expectation of my boss. When I moved, she was like, "I know your work ethic. I know things are going to get done. So if you want to take off at 3:00 when your son gets home and take him to the pool and whatever, as long as work's getting done, I don't care when it gets done." But like you were saying, you have your separate space. My office was in my living room.
Mine was too.
Even if I was sitting there watching TV, I was distracted by the whiteboard that had my to-do list on it that was like just feet away from the TV on the same wall.
Yep.
And I'd look and I'm like, okay, after this show, I'm going to go work on that project plan or, whatever it is I needed to do. And I'd end up working until midnight. And, that worked for a while. But then at some point I realized, you know what, this is stupid. This is my own personal expectation on myself that I have set, and nobody else is expecting me to put in these hours. So I don't need to. And I started actually setting boundaries around my time, and it was the best decision in the world.
Isn't it crazy how
many years later, I picked it back up again, unfortunately. And, and it wasn't work. It was like volunteer things that then took up those other 6 hours of the day. And I had to do the same thing and lay some of that down. But yeah, it was my own expectations of what I should be doing.
Yeah. And that's so common. And I hear it from, I actually have a really good friend who's got a very successful business. And she's like, I haven't seen my kids. I see my kids for an hour a day, and that has to change. And so we're working together to kind of, I'm helping her put up guardrails so that she can catch herself.
Right. Yeah. So since we're talking about that relationship that's lost, I want to transition into your expertise.
Sure.
And as I said at the beginning, your funnel isn't broken, your relationship is. Tell us about it. What is broken in my relationships?
So if you showed up at the park as a mom and you walked over to another mom and you're like, "Hi, I see that you also procreated. We should be friends." you get a really weird look. They'd grab their kid and they would run, right? Same goes if you walk up to some person in the middle of the park and you're like, "Hi, let's get married."
Right.
They're going to be like, "Bye-bye." And they're going to run away. And we would never do that in real life because it's so bizarre and weird. And we understand that boundary. In the digital world, we have forgotten how to be a person, and we assume everyone's a number in our bottom line. And so it's not that your funnel's broken. It's that you have forgotten how to build a relationship. You don't propose on the first date. You don't go up to another mom and go, "You also made a child. Let's be friends." You have to lay that foundational groundwork. And so in order to do that in your funnel, you really need to take the time to show all of the people that are reading your emails exactly what you have in common, why they should listen to you, and why you're the expert. And then you can propose. But it doesn't make sense to propose out the gate, which is what most of us do. It's you get the opt-in, and then immediately on the back end, you get buy my stuff.
Right, right.
And we wonder why things don't sell. What would happen if instead of buy my stuff, you put if you want to make money off the back end right away, that's cool. Make it a small offer, make it $7, $14, and make it very, very highly relevant to exactly what they opted in for. And then wait. Don't do nothing. Educate, inspire, build some relationships, ask some questions, get some feedback, do a survey, spend a little bit of time with them, because it takes between 7 and 11 touches to build an actual relationship and to build trust. And until you've built that trust, there is, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that you're going to actually make a sale. Unless they're, drunk buying at 11:30 at night, which doesn't happen very often with most of our programs and products, because most of the people that I talk to and work with, our programs and products are a couple $1,000s each.
Right.
That's not pocket change. That takes some real trust. Okay, I'm handing over a large chunk of my income to you, and I'm trusting that you are going to take care of me. And in order to actually hold that trust and be really trustworthy, we have to demonstrate our expertise and that we understand where they are and where they're coming from. And so that's why I say your funnel isn't broken, your relationship is, because we've forgotten to build the relationship before we ask for the sale.
So what are some ways that you can build that trust? What are some ways that you can show them that you get them, you understand where they are right now?
The first thing you can do is to stop making all of your communication on social media and email and video about you, because it's not about you. People are not buying you. They are buying the solution to their pain or their problem. The second thing that you can do is you can ask a quick question. It's called a 9-word email or a 13-word email or 11-word email. There's all kinds of names for it, but basically the premise is this. Hey there, Stephanie. I have a quick question for you. What is your biggest problem with whatever your expertise is? Hit reply and let me know. And that's it. That's the email in their entirety. You don't put anything else in it. And because you're creating a safe space for them. They may not reply right away, and that's okay. But the fact that you asked goes into their little Rolodex of they care about me. The third thing that you can do is you can leverage your social proof. So those testimonials you've been collecting, those raving fans on Facebook, the clients that have filmed videos talking about you, share that with your audience so they can go, oh, it worked for somebody else. It might work for me too. And the fourth thing that you can do, and this is probably the most important thing, is as much as you want to sell to them, don't. Hold off on the sale until the 7th email or the 10th email. If you want to put something in the PS, by the way, if you're wanting to find out about what it's like to work with me, you can go here to book a free discovery call, strategy session, whatever you want to call it. But hold off on that sales piece until you've actively built trust with them. And if you really want to get techie on it, this is like my bonus tip, number 5, you can actually segment your list if you're using most of the CRMs out there, from MailChimp to Keep, will allow you to do something called lead scoring, where it actively tracks their clicks, their open rates, all of those pieces. And once they hit a threshold, then you can sell to them. So the higher their lead score, then you can actually say, once their lead score hits 50, send this offer. And it takes at least 5 emails. If it's 10 points per email opened, it's going to take them 5 emails to hit that number.
Right.
So there's a number of different ways you can mitigate the let's get married right now moment. But those are the ways that I tend to come into my clients' world and help them fix their funnels.
When is it, or let me ask it this way. Is there a magic number, like a magic number of emails in the nurture sequence? And that nurture sequence, I'll let you describe what that is if somebody's not familiar with what a nurture sequence is. But is there a typical number that works, that once you've nurtured them for this many emails, and you kind of addressed that a little bit, but I want a little bit more
so 5 to 7 emails is a good number that seems to work really, really well before you go into what I call the pitch. And a nurture sequence is just education. You are literally showing them who you are, who you serve them, how you serve them, that you understand their pain, and that you have a solution. So those are the 5 emails right there. So you've got who you are, you need to introduce yourself, your backstory, all of that, who you serve. This is not saying I work with this person. This is saying, my client Susan, who happens to be a grocer, does this thing. Have you ever felt like that? And then Billy, who's a grocer, reading goes, oh man, I feel just like that. Okay. So you've got, about you, about them, why it matters or why you serve them, your passion projects. So what gets you excited in the morning, but you want to make it about them, right? You're spinning it so that it's about them. And then the pain point that they are currently feeling. And then you want to have an email that has the solution to the pain point. And then that next email would be your sale.
Awesome. How do you feel about including affiliate marketing? Where does that fit in? Like, if you've got a complementary product to yours, is that a good way to introduce something?
I love affiliate marketing. I think it's a great offer. The challenge is it's a sell. So you have to prioritize what you want to sell first. And you want to remember that you're not going to be able to nurture someone for just 5 emails and then sell them for 10. It doesn't work. So you're going to want to nurture them for 5 emails, sell them for 2 or 3, and then go back to nurturing for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then put another offer in. A way to get around that is to add a PS to the nurture emails. It's like, hey, those of you out there who are struggling with big feet, if you want to shrink your feet, here's a really cool program that will help you do that. Totally weird example, but I wanted to be a little bizarre because you'll remember that. But you don't want to have a whole email about foot shrinking. I have big feet, so you don't want to have a whole email about foot shrinking followed by 3 of those, followed by an email about clearing up your acne, followed by emails about then you become the person that they ignore in their inbox or they unsubscribe from.
Right. I think I asked that because I see a trend in the health space of people selling like a very low level fitness plan, or here's a bunch of exercises, here's videos, here's how you do this kind of stuff. And it might be one of those SLO offers. It's like $36 or something like that, right? $37. And then the only emails you receive from them are product pitches. So it's their business is the affiliate stuff on the end, obviously.
Well, either that or they're in desperation mode. And I call desperation mode it's like that throwing spaghetti at the wall situation where they're like, well, that offer didn't work, so maybe this one will, or maybe this one will, or maybe this one will, or maybe this one. So it's not that they're making money on those offers usually. It's that someone told them affiliate marketing is a good idea. So, and affiliate marketing usually comes with some templated emails, so it's easy.
Right.
And it can be, affiliate marketing can be woven into a sequence very beautifully, but that takes higher level thought, and it's not slapstick pitching. It's more strategic, and it's usually very people who are really successful at affiliate marketing typically only promote 2 to 3 affiliates. So the people that you see promoting like everybody under the sun probably aren't doing it right, probably aren't very successful.
Right. Yeah.
At least in my experience.
Gotcha. How else can you use collaboration to relate to your audience?
Collaboration is a great way to introduce other types of business owners or other types of programs or products to your audience. It doesn't have to be an affiliate. I have lots of clients and friends who I'm not affiliates for that I'll send out an email for because I just love them. And I think their program or product is great. And I'll even say, this is not an affiliate link. I'm really not going to get paid if you buy it. I just think you should know about it. That's a really great way to build trust. And it also helps get those people who are on your list who really aren't a great fit for you, get them to the person that they actually need. Another really great way to collaborate and grow your list is to guest on podcasts or do Facebook Live trades or, go live in a group that allows you to go live. Those are really great ways to collaborate and actually grow your influence and grow your list without being pitchy and obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you convert some of this? We've talked a lot about what happens in the email. What does it look like on your website to create the copy that builds trust, that isn't like you go to the website and it's flashing, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. Like,
so the first thing you have to know about your website copy is that it's not about you. I mean, this shouldn't be surprising at this point in the conversation, but most people are like, my website is my splash page. And that's totally not true. The two highest viewed pages on your website are your homepage and your about page. And both pages need to be about who you're serving, not about you.
Yeah.
So yes, on your about page, you want to tell your story. Yes, on your about page, you want to share who you are, but you don't want to get so stuck in all about me that they get lost.
It's not a resume.
Right. It's not. And I've even had clients where they had a really well-rounded CV because they were a doctor or a master's degree holder or whatever. And we link it instead of having it be like, this is everything I've ever done in my whole entire life. And I'm amazing.
Yeah.
So you give them an abbreviated version and tie it back to how it helps them, tie it back to their story. And then say, for my full resume or for my full CV or for my full bio, go here.
Yeah. I did that with one of my clients. She was in the education space for a really long time and has a lot of credentials. And she is a speaker, a paid speaker, like conferences and things. And she was getting into corporate training. And so I was reviewing her site, because when she came to me, she had already created her site, and I'm reading her about me page, and it was I'm like, okay, so I've read your resume. That's not what your client needs.
Right.
Even though she's like, but that's what they expect. I said, that's exactly what you described is what we did. I said, so let's create a page that has all of the credentials and all of that for those educational institutions and things that want to know, what is it that gives her the credibility to talk and speak in front of our group, right? But on the about me page, it's like 80% of it needs to be about how you're going to help them. 20% of it is a little bit about you with a few of your credentials, sprinkled in, and you can sprinkle that throughout, but it's all about why that helps them.
Right. Because at the core of our being as humans, we're selfish.
Yeah.
Look at, if you strip it down, look at how a 2-year-old acts. They don't give a flying anything that you think it's bedtime.
Right.
They're going to stay up and they're going to be loud about it and obnoxious about it. And they're going to tell you exactly what they think about the fact that you tell them it's bedtime. And that really doesn't change as we get into adulthood. It just shifts. And so it's not that, we're pitching a fit about bedtime, because we can stay up as late as we want. And we can even eat cookies at 11 o'clock at night. Nobody's going to tell us not to. It shifts into, I'm in pain, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, we're in pain, right? And we want to not be in pain anymore. So we are out there actively looking for the balm, the solution, the soothing agent to stop that pain. And this is why alcohol sales are so high. This is why, we understand that fixes something. Right. And so you have to do the same thing in your business. Not saying you need to get people drunk, but you need to help soothe the pain. You need to help calm them down and say, listen, I know you're stressed out. Mm-hmm. I know you're working too hard. I know you haven't seen your kids in 3 days. And guess what? You're normal. Right. You're fine. But there's a better way. Come here, let me show you. They're going to pay attention. Mm-hmm. It's really actively saying there's a better way than what you're currently trying to do to fix the pain that you're in. And then saying, here's the solution. Yeah. But you can't do that if you don't have that brand value and that brand trust and that established credibility, which you're doing in your nurturing, right? And it's not just email. You should be doing this on social media. You should be doing this in your videos. You should be doing this everywhere you show up. I just happen to fall back on email because it's what's really easy for me. Mm-hmm. But you want to meet them where they are. You want to say, listen, you've had a long day. Your kids are screaming and you still have 3 hours of work to do. What if I told you could get all of your work done while they were at school or daycare and you could actively be mom? Yeah. And be on the floor playing with your kids instead. Everyone's heads would snap around. They'd be like, what? Tell me more. Right. But instead we go, hey, I made this thing for this and buy it. And they're like, no, because then it's all about you. It's not about them. So yeah. Yeah. So you have a magazine that you have created that's for coaches and consultants. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Sure. I actually have a copy here that I had next to my desk for you. So it's called Copyright Magazine. I love it. It's free. You can grab a copy if you want. I created it specifically for coaches, consultants, course creators, and other copywriters to help you write better copy, sell more of your programs and products, and be more confident in your sales. And it's 48 pages of awesomeness. We've got everything from a confidence coach to other copywriters to a money coach to cold pitching, clear up to, how to make your copy convert. Because I understand that not everybody can hire a copywriter and a strategist. When we are getting started in our businesses, we're bootstrapping it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to create a situation where people could actively get the tools that they needed without having to mortgage their house. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And the link to that is here on this page with this video. So I think that's amazing. And I love that. I love how it looks and everything. Thank you. I was so she sent me the cover and I was like, are you joking me? And I went and showed I'm like, look at this. And he's like, that's great. And I'm like, you're not my audience. Exactly. Call my mom. I'm like, Mom, look at this. She's like, oh my God. That's how I am with my husband. It's like, can you do, he can copy edit for me, but he can't tell me is it good? Yeah. I think I literally said, you're not my audience. You kind of looked at me funny. And I was like, I'm calling my mom. Right. I need somebody to get my girlfriend got really great news. I was at her house until yesterday. And I hear Bree, and I come running out. She's like, oh my God. And this really great thing happened. And we're both jumping up and down. Her husband comes out of the room and he looks at us and he just turned right around and walked back in. He was like, nope, not going there. And that's a great example of, it's okay for that everyone is not the person you're talking to. Yes. Everyone doesn't have to be your audience. Exactly. Instead, celebrate the 10 people that go, oh my God, with you. Yeah. And move away from the people that are like, okay. Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the keys with copy is that it's intended to attract and repel. Mm-hmm. And you want to attract the people that you want to work with, that can afford you, that are ready for your services, and you want to repel the ones that
that aren't ready for you, that you don't want to work with. I was sharing with one of our other speakers that I realized at one point that I was attracting a lot of people who were so early in their business idea that they weren't ready to invest in anything out of, there's that lack of confidence and things like that. But there was a lot of, even if they decided to invest, there was a lot of pulling them along. They weren't as invested.
You cannot want it more than they want it for themselves.
Yeah. And so I realized I needed to change my copy to find the go-getters, the ones that were ready to do whatever it takes, the ones that are ready to like, tell me what to do, I'll go do it. Like, and so I needed to change my messaging and my marketing.
And it worked, I'm sure.
Right.
Once you figured that out, you're like, oh, this is so much better because now you're talking to the right people.
Yeah. Because they're only reaching out if they're actually ready.
Yeah.
To do the work. Yeah. Because starting a business.
And it's so much easier to work with those people, isn't it?
It is. It is. I told a client not too long ago, earlier this year, I was like, if I had 10 of you, it would be an amazing life I would lead.
I have a couple of those clients where I'm like, can I clone you?
Right. Breanna, this has been amazing. I love all of your tips, and I think your magazine's amazing. I'm going to go grab it because I want to see all about it. I want to read the whole thing. Yes. So definitely y'all watching this, like, again, go back and listen to this because there's gold in here around the keys to really attracting the people that you want in your business, nurturing them to that point of they're ready to buy from you. They've decided that they trust you. They've chosen you over probably the other 6 people they have entering their inbox for the same product, the same type of training or whatever, because they've gotten, the 7 different freebies from somebody to see. And that's the whole point. That is the introduction, right? That's let me see if I like them. Let me see if I like the language that they use. Because I know
don't propose on the first date. You shouldn't.
Right.
You shouldn't ask someone to buy your stuff before they've gotten to know you.
Yeah. And it's not just the buying too early, but also just like I said, that language. Does my personality jive with their personality? Where I think they get me, or they use an analogies that I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. Right. Yeah. It's kind of like there's a commercial right now. And I'm going to say there's a Taco Bell commercial right now that I don't get it.
You're talking about.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. Every time it comes on, my husband and I look at each other and we're like, still don't get it. But somebody does. Somebody does.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because we do the same thing. We're like,
somebody knows what that thing is, right?
And they're excited about it. And I like Taco Bell sometimes, but like,
right. But to my point, that right there though is what our email does. It's what our social media does. People either like, oh, she gets me, she's using the same references, she's like she watches the same kind of shows, she uses the same kind of like slang and words and things like that, or they don't do I don't understand half of what she's saying, or it's harsh or whatever it might be, but it appeals to somebody else. And that's what our copy is supposed to do, is attract and repel and attract the right people and the ones that we want. So thank you so much.
Of course, Stephanie, anytime.
Awesome. Well, we're wrapping up this episode, and I want to remind you that you can still purchase the lifetime access to the recordings of the show, of this season 1 of the Freedom in Business show. And it's right here. There's a big yellow button on this page. I promise you there is, that you could go get your lifetime access. Go do it, because you don't want to miss any of these. There's too many for you to be able to watch all of them. I just know there are, because you've got a life and you've got business and you've got stuff to do. But there was something that drew you into this. And that thing is you want to diversify into multiple streams of income. And there are so many tips and tricks on how to do that within this show. So go grab your lifetime access right now. Go click that big yellow button.